Yeah. It's the Mafia. Yeah.
He's a monkey with cymbals in his hands instead of just catching the foot.
And that's this. They're giving us like a 24-hour go feed. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a Bill City. Yeah, a Buffalo Bill City. Yeah, we got Josh Allen, got Steph.
I know they mentioned something about an ultrasound to check the nerve endings and everything.
Hopefully
else
he's
like
not pregnant. That would
Hopefully
be
not
a disaster. I hear that's a 9-month timeline to recover from at the minimum, is what I've heard.
Yeah, Ike McKenzie on a jet sweep, maybe it's a fake. Honestly, it's a TD either way when you got Josh Allen making plays. Win a ball before we get a new stadium.
Someone's making a new Twitter at some point. Maybe we should do that.
Honestly, I'll just start a shared Google Doc, and that'll be our new Twitter. That'll be our new Twitter.
Just people just adding shit in.
Anonymous hedgehog is saying "fuck your mom." Like.
This is our team forever. It is forever. We got Josh Allen, got Steph Diggs.
Folks, welcome into a brand new episode of the Crowd Assist podcast presented by Trainwreck Sports. It's awards season right now, and that's why we have the first ever 2023 CAPPY Award nominees for Bills regular season awards. Jake Micah, had a pleasure putting these together with you. Very excited to go through these. Let's cheers to the end of what was a phenomenal season of football, no matter how it ended. Man, it's great to be here. How you doing? How you doing on this fine Thursday evening?
Couldn't be better. There's nothing else I would rather be doing here than celebrating the Buffalo Bills of 2022.
Yeah.
With you, my friend.
With you, my friend.
A nice cheers to all of our it's been listen, we have had for having my first year of covering the Buffalo Bills fully capacity, not just being a fan. Literally the most insane year. Yeah. So it's been a pleasure. But we're going to celebrate tonight.
Yes, we are.
I have seen specifically, I've picked a bone with people today, if you haven't seen a little bit. Because there's been too much negativity on my timeline between my Sabres fans friends and Bills fans friends.
Oh my god!
Don't really know what's going on here, but
Kevin
we're just going to be happy about the Buffalo
trouble
Bills.
with our friend Britt.
Everybody's
oh my goodness,
in trouble. It's going crazy, and I'm trying to spread the positivity here. Rasmus Dahlin is celebrating All-Star Weekend for Tage Thompson, unfortunately injured,
of course,
and he is wearing a Bills hat in his media day all day.
Well,
so I think we should follow the lead of our role models in our organizations,
Absolutely.
The guys out there representing Buffalo, and celebrate our Buffalo Bills who finished. What can we at least say that they were the 5th place team?
They were the 5th place
Let's
team.
give them 5th.
Give them 5th. Absolutely 5th. You can't tell me anything else. Could not convince me.
Big ol' 5. High
big
5.
Ol' 5. High 5. But we have the draft pick of the 6th best team. So
gosh, shit. Most of them were 6th.
No. But that means that we have the leg up on everyone. We are drafting ahead of our position, which is fantastic.
We are always one step ahead. I like where you're at.
We are one step ahead. And I love the way we're able to spin zone this. And there were a lot of good things to take away from this Bills season. Of course, there are a lot of things to improve upon, but we'll save that for the off-season talk. Let's get to these award nominees. We have 7 different awards that we have nominees for. We're going to go through them one by one, starting with Rookie of the Year. 4 rookies really stood out. It wasn't the best draft class this year. I think I saw the tweet that was, I can't remember from who, one Matt beat reporter from Kansas City pointed out the statistics, the measurements that the Kansas City Chiefs rookies did a little better than what the Bills did this year, but still some great shining moments from these guys. Nominated, we have Kyer Elam, first-round pick from this past year. I mean, there was no reason for him to be our CB2, anything less than starting is what I want to say, even though he was kind of pushed back into that role, partially because, of course, other rookie cornerback, Christian Benford, played pretty admirably while he was out there. He impressed in training camp. James Cook, another rookie, the running back, Dalvin Cook's younger brother, who really came on after a rough start to the beginning of the season. That first fumble on his first ever NFL play, first NFL touch, seems like it's so long ago. And last but not least, Khalil Shakir. He is going to be a guy that is definitely going to play a big role on this offense moving forward. The Bobby Trees comparisons, I think they're real. I think they're real with him, and he's going to be a fine wide receiver 3, I think, at the minimum in the next few years here.
Is this me or you? What's going on? I think you are frozen, Wake.
I think I am too.
Okay. All right, because I was frozen last night for a minute, and Dwayne was like staring into my soul, and I was like, "What's going on?"
Can't wait to go back and edit that audio. Oh boy. How do you feel about the rookie class from this year for the Bills?
It was fine. Christian Benford, I think, would have been the runaway of this award if he was healthy, and I think Elam, I think he'd be my betting favorite, like a -200 if I was setting the odds for our cappies here.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so. I think that he was more vital to the team than Cook was. Like, if it was Singletary and Hines, wouldn't have been, or Singletary and Moss even all year, don't think it would have been like as much of a drop off. Like, Cook was definitely good, and had a really obviously he was awesome. He had a really effective year, but they had nobody in the secondary. Like, the entire secondary was hurt all year long, and Elam was like, it wasn't like, oh, we can afford to have him compete with Christian Benford and compete with It was like, no, you just need to like actually start important games all the time. So for that, I think that he's a big favorite in this. Cook, I think I would pick going into next year. I do like what you say about Shakir. I think he's going to have a much bigger role. And I also think the same of Benford, because they clearly positioned him to be very successful and have a lot of reps and a lot of time. And he just got hurt. And then they just didn't want to rush him back in after it. So he's going to be very interesting, like camp guy and everything else too, to see how he kind of recovers and everything.
No, definitely right about that. It'll be interesting. The battle for CB2, I think next year will be much more interesting than it was for this past year, because
this cornerback room will be a strength next year.
Yeah, that's the thing. It is if they stay 80% healthy next season, they could be considered, I think, one of the top 10 cornerback rooms in the entire NFL. And honestly, depending on who we pair up with James Cook next year, I don't anticipate Singletary being back. But that running back room can be sneaky good too. All these guys are in position groups that seem like they are in a great spot moving forward, and they all have a part to play in that. And that's why they're all nominated for our first ever Cappy Rookie of the Year. Going to turn it over to you for our second set of nominees, Mr. Micah.
The unsung heroes of our team here. So we've got Mitch Morse, the center, the linchpin of the Buffalo Bills offense. Like, really, when Mitch Morse is gone, this offense is like, oh my gosh. They go into like a fantasy land, especially on that offensive line. Like, if he is missing, they've struggled all year long, and I can't even imagine what they would look like if he was not in there in some of these big games. So he's been a linchpin all year. Dawson Knox, I'm ready to go here with Dawson Knox. You ready for this? And this is a very cliche thing, but I think it fits very well for Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox is the heart and soul of the Buffalo Bills. And I think that is,
I love a good heart and soul player.
Everybody loves Dawson Knox like so much, wholehearted. And obviously he went through like a horrible family tragedy, losing his brother. Like, can't even imagine what that has been like. But even before that, and especially after, like, the team rallied around him, everybody is always like, he's just the best guy. Like, we love him so much, everything. He just seems like he is very important to like the morale and psyche of that team in a way, in an unsung hero type of way, emotionally. And so I love that for Knox. I think that's part of the reason, like, everybody's like, why did he get such a big contract so early? I think that's why. I think that Bean and McDermott and all those guys know in that room, like, how important he is just to everything going on there. Like, similar to Dawkins too. Shaq Lawson here. What a year.
If you like,
what were your expectations for Shaq Lawson coming into the season? Like, very little.
Von Miller being signed as a free agent it takes away the possibility of him being like free agent of the year for us. But like, goddamn, like that should have been an award, is best free agent signing, because there would have been a lot to choose from, Shaq, Lawson, and
well, these two guys on the bottom would be duking it out. And Unsung Hero, the Dawson Knox could have pulled at your emotional heartstrings there as I gave my case for him. This is I think a very tough race. You could make a lot of good cases for a lot of these guys. This is my guy though, because he held the run defense together all year long. Like if you look at the on-off splits when DaQuan Jones is not on the field and when he was on the field and where the Bills run, and even the pass rush too, he helped sustain. Von Miller had a much bigger impact in the pass rush, but the next there was DaQuan Jones right up there with Ed Oliver and everything else. DaQuan Jones was everything. And once he was out of that Bengals game, I'm going to be honest, guys, that was where I kind of was just like, I hope things go well, but I wouldn't be surprised. And they did exactly what it would have done all year, because he was not in there. And I truly believe that if he's in that game, I don't know if they win. I don't know anything else, but they missed him immensely. And there's your case. Joe Mixon, the way Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine ran in the playoff game should be your case for Unsung Hero for DaQuan.
That's aggravated menacer Joe Mixon to you now, Mr. Micah.
Hey, I'm not literally. I have been shouting.
Alleged aggravated menacer.
I have been shouting off the rooftops since Joe Mixon came into the league about how he's a terrible person, and he's continuing to do that. Yeah.
Our friend Bridget Jankar is from the Believe In Network.
Poor Bridget.
The Bengals over there. When I brought up that Joe Mixon was a terrible person, she said, "Well, I'm not going to say anything about that," which is Bengals fan speak for you're damn right about that.
Yeah. Well, this is not going to. I feel like Joe Mixon is probably not going to be a Cincinnati Bengal next year, because you really can't let. They are, as we're talking about chemistry guys like a Dawson Knox or anybody else, they are on the cusp. I mean, who has a right, like this summer, who's going to be more angry, the Bills or the Bengals fans? Like the Bengals, honestly, they've gotten to the Super Bowl and the AFC Championship and lost. They have more right to be on edge. And that's like a distraction you don't need, honestly. But but yeah, I just think coming back to the, we did have to mention it, coming back around though, DaQuan Jones, on field unsung hero, like all year long. And he's going to be huge for them next year too.
Yeah, no, I think DaQuan, especially after like the Bengals game in the playoffs, there's no other choice for me, to be completely honest. I think, Dawson Knox, I do want to talk about his contract a little bit though, because there is a bit of a hullabaloo, a little bit of a scubbub, a little bit of a, just a kerfuffle on Bill's Twitter coming this offseason about whether or not we overpaid him. Should we restructure his contract? Should Bean ask him to take a pay cut? I mean, if you think about mentally what was going on for him this season, the fact that he put up comparable numbers to what he did last year to earn that contract, I think that says all you need to know. I mean, same amount of games played, 70 less yards, 3 less touchdowns, 1 less catch.
He was never going to have as many touchdowns as he had last year. It was
exactly
that's an unsustainable amount of touchdowns for a tight end not named Rob Gronkowski.
Exactly, or Travis Kelce.
Or Travis Kelce.
That's literally it. Like if he hovers between 6 and 9.
And sorry to interrupt again, but that's touchdowns for every skill player. Every skill player, touchdowns fluctuate. Julio Jones went 2 years without a fucking touchdown, and he's
Jacoby Myers has no touchdowns for his entire. Didn't he set the record for most catches without a touchdown?
I think
he did,
so.
right?
Yeah.
And that's future Buffalo Bill Jacoby Myers to you.
Wow.
But we will get to that later. Next award that we have going up here is Most Improved, and there are quite a few guys to choose from here. I think we thought that this might be a little bit of a different list coming into this year. Thought maybe Gabriel Davis would be on this list. Thought, maybe someone along the lines of a Spencer Brown, or maybe even a Ryan Bates, who a lot of people thought would be a phenomenal contributor on the offensive line. But these are the guys we have here. Damar Hamlin, when he was healthy, he stepped in very, very admirably in that back safety spot. He was probably one of the best tacklers on this defense for the first part of the season. And it wasn't sustained throughout the entire season, but he was damn reliable back there. And when Micah Hyde top 10 minimum safety in the NFL goes down, you are just looking for reliable as a replacement. And reliable is exactly what we got from Damar Hamlin, his first time really being thrust into this kind of role. Boogie Basham, defensive end, came back. Or no, didn't come back, but he definitely year 1 to year 2 stepped up a little bit. I mean, it was that rotation on that defensive line a little bit, but it's what you love to see is these rotational defensive line guys stepping up when we need them. I think between him and AJ Epinesa, if we're going to pick one guy to improve the most, he definitely, on the defensive line at least, really, really took that next step. Reggie Gilliam, now one of the top fullbacks in the NFL. PFF had him as the number 2 fullback in the NFL. And I think that when we finally start to utilize him like a Kyle Juszczyk, like even like an Alec Ingold, I think that he can really be a weapon on this offense, used sparingly as much as a fullback could be. And Tyler Bass, I mean, talk about reliable, like Mr. Old Reliable, only 1 missed PAT, I believe, on the year, just always came in clutch. And not to say he never did.
He does not get the respect he should get, like, around the league. Not. He really doesn't. Like Jason Myers, now everybody's on the Jason Myers bandwagon and everybody else. And it's like, dude, Bass has just been consistent and he has a fucking cannon. Like, they don't take 60-yard kicks because they score touchdowns. But when he takes long kicks, he hits them and he hits them dead center usually, like down the middle and with ease. The Bills just don't kick enough for him to get enough notoriety. They really don't. Reggie Gilliam also, I think, was because of that offensive line being so porous all year long. I think that was a lot of his role when he was on the field, was helping block first before and honestly, just they didn't really throw short much this year. So Reggie Gilliam, and thankfully, at least Ken Dorsey didn't send fullbacks on deep routes all the time, which that's true. That's a plus. Very good point. It's a plus. Very good point. But I would prefer a deep shot to Reggie Gilliam than Patrick DeMarco. Maybe we do have to bring that back. Boogie Basham here though is he's like the lesser of 2 evils in this category for me out of him and Epinesa, because Epinesa if they cut him, I wouldn't be upset, to be honest, and I think it would be a surprise and everything else, but he's just a guy who he flashes and then he disappears, and they clearly didn't trust him.
They have a lot of guys like that on the defense. That's kind of the shame of it. But they're all like high ceiling. Yeah.
The problem is they took a lot of guys exactly that had high ceilings, but they were guys that had first round talents, but were second round picks for a reason. And they tried to capitalize on some bargain guys like that. And obviously there were reasons that those guys that like pass rushers are going to go in the first round, dude. Like if you're worth a shit, you're going in the first 25 picks of a draft. And so if a guy who Epinesa especially, and Basham was good this year, and I think Basham, I'll keep talking about him because I think he can still improve. I think he was pretty good. I think that he's really good against the run, which is a nice, because they need a guy like that, Shaq Lawson. Maybe he comes back next year, but he's not going to be around forever. And if he's can serve that role, that's good. I think Basham's a perfectly fine depth guy.
One of the best tacklers on the team too, and on a defense that's so bad at tackling. Looking at Pro Football Reference right now, he 5% missed tackle rate, only 1 missed tackle on the season. Only because we were mentioning AJ Epinesa in the same breath.
He can't tackle for shit.
15.8% missed tackles.
It's terrible. It's terrible. So, and that's a guy. And the thing about Epinesa is, when you look back at that draft cycle, he was like top 15 buzz. And then it's just like he just started falling. And so the Bills took him, and it's like, oh, cool. Like, this is a guy who could have been a first round pick. And then you realize it isn't. And it's same like even Ed Oliver, who's only a number 9 pick before the season. Ed Oliver, is he going to be the number 1 overall pick? Is he an Aaron Donald type player? All that, blah, 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 all this, all that. He drops to 8. The Bills still take him because they're like, well, if he has this much talent, we can make him into this guy. And it doesn't work. Right? So there is an issue on the defensive line. There's something that's got to be fixed. Damar Hamlin is going to run away. He's a minus 9 million for this category for obvious reasons. But before Damar Hamlin became the most famous person on planet Earth, I tried to start a Hamlin hive in September. You can go start. It was like a couple tweets, but I really
I remember that. No, you were first.
Fell in love with Damar Hamlin, just the way he plays. he stepped in right away, and it like obviously we missed Micah Hyde, but it really didn't feel like he were like missing a lot when DeMar was out there, and especially what he brought in the run. Like always, I loved the way they used him like up by the line of scrimmage. He was all over the place. And Poyer talked about, I remember it was really like, I think in October even, they were talking about Poyer was on Pat McAfee, and they asked him about that because he was like, hey, like Micah's been out, you've been playing with these young guys, like how do you like playing with them? And Poyer made a point to talk about how fun it was to play with DeMar because of how aggressive he was, and how like fun it was for him to like watch him go and like make plays while he's kind of like being the free safety and being the backfield back there and doing his thing. And that was the whole thing, the whole season. So we don't know what his obviously football playing career looks like at this point. We know that people can come back from this injury, whatever what his suspected injury was, and play sports again. So if we see him on the field again, if it's not, maybe his clone's good at football too, though. We don't know. Like if
maybe they can alternate games to limit the wear and tear on each other.
That's a great idea.
Thank you. That's a
great idea.
I know, right?
That's one way to have 54 on the 53-man roster too, if you think about it.
If this is possible, Brandon Beane's already jumping through hoops to make this happen.
Well, if the Bills figured out how to clone human beings, then the Bills are doing something. Like I'm not worried about a Super Bowl ever, because we're just gonna clone Josh Allen forever.
Yeah, we're literally gonna have Josh Allen as quarterback for the rest of
We're just gonna have we're not just gonna have Josh Allen as quarterback. It's just gonna be all Josh Allen's. We're just gonna because he's 6'6", dude. He can play any position. We're just gonna train. We're gonna train our clone Josh Allen. Like you are cornerback Josh Allen. I'm sorry.
We're gonna have to sprinkle some Isaiah McKenzie DNA in there though for like the slot guy. You know.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. We can toy with it a little bit, but we can teach all the Josh Allens to specialize in certain things. We'll give them certain personality traits. Like we'll just
goodness.
Like you know
like Lilo and Stitch, like the different experiments. This is experiment 1-7. Yes.
Have you seen that tweet?
For an arm.
Have you seen that tweet that goes around all the time? That's like football players tweet like this, and it's the quarterback talking about like praying and all this stuff, and it's like the wide receivers the enemy like carries a knife. That's what we have to do for the different Josh Allens. Like make sure the wide receiver Josh Allens are just divas. Like we have to give them preferential treatment. We got to prop them up, hype them up. We need the attitudes too, and then we will win all the Super Bowls.
I imagine it's like Brandon Beane's just walking through a Build-A-Bear, just with like a bunch of Josh Allens, and he's just like stuffing them. And then the worker who doesn't want to be there at the end is like, okay, now hold it to your heart and tell you what you want it to be. It's like, I want this to be the best middle linebacker that the Buffalo Bills have ever seen.
Josh Allen, a middle linebacker, Josh Allen.
That doesn't have to change at all.
What more did you ask for?
Tight end Josh Allen.
I'm just saying, Bean might be onto something. He might have just met Josh Allen and been like, guys, I think I have a very out-of-the-box idea on how we build a contender.
Yep.
Hear me out.
If he's figured this out, he's a shoo-in to get GM of the year. But we have another award here.
He might be the president.
He could be the president. Why not? Well, then his VP would be from the Carolina Panthers. Insert PanthersJoke.gif. Our next award here, you came up with this one. It's the Jerry Hughes Award. So tell the people what this one's all about.
The Jerry Hughes Award is a personal favorite of mine, and I'm so glad that you let me introduce this award. Jerry Hughes, for all true Buffalo Bills drought fans, there was at least one moment a game in Jerry Hughes' illustrious 8-year Bills career.
Yep.
2012 came in. I remember trade for Kelvin Shepherd. Very excited. Thought very highly. Jerry Hughes is a prospect coming out that year. But Jerry Hughes, at one point in a game, football is a very emotional game. Sure. And sometimes Jerry Hughes would just get me too. Listen, we all know the levels of emotional that our friends and everybody else can get during a game. And Jerry is just one of us. That's why.
Yes.
He's just worked up. But he always manages to just go one step too far and get an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, get a late hit, yell at the ref. He pushes somebody late out of bounds. He hits a quarterback and throws him to the ground.
Hit a coach, maybe. Go Quay Walker.
Or he fights a coach. Or he starts chirping a coach. Whatever he's got to do. So this is the Jerry Hughes Award. This is a personal favorite of mine, and we have some good candidates this year.
Great candidates. Yeah.
My favorite here is Spencer Brown, I think. And Spencer Brown, he protects Josh Allen at all costs. He has gone to war with the best of them, Christian Wilkins, among other defensive linemen all year long. And Josh, let's face it, Josh loves bringing the heat to him a little bit sometimes, and likes getting the boys riled up and getting everybody going. So he'll do his own chirping, and he knows the big boys are coming in. And Spencer is The biggest.
Big boy.
He's the
I
biggest.
saw him in
of the
Target
big
one
boys.
time. I saw him in
Well,
Target.
how could you miss him?
You don't. You simply don't. He has the build of like a very muscular 12-year-old, but just like
Expand it with the ratio on all sides, like,
oh
Yeah.
my god, massive human being.
He does look like a big child, honestly.
Yeah.
Ed Oliver, who is he just fits because he's a psychopath. I think any man who first of all, we all know the theory on horse girls, horse boys. You've all heard it. I'm not saying I believe it.
We're
Do
not
whatever
going to
you
even
want with
acknowledge
that.
what it is.
But I'm just saying, if you believe in that,
If you do.
Ed Oliver rides a horse around
He
town
does.
a lot. That's all I need to say there. Taron Johnson, he's just a little frisky. He rides me like Scrappy Doo, and that's not disrespectful at all. But he's a little guy. There's big guys in the NFL, and he does not care.
Oh my God.
And he is also one of the best.
Let me at him.
One of the best tacklers. I should give him more respect than that because he is one of the best tacklers, I believe, on a like we said, a pretty bad defense tackling. But I'm pretty sure Taron Johnson has scored highly on tackling in his career forever, and that's why he's basically
Wow.
you realize Taron Johnson, like, I don't think people realize that Taron Johnson is their third linebacker. He is not a cornerback. He's just a linebacker that is small.
I tweeted that after that hit in the Bengals game, I think it was, or maybe it was the Patriots. I can't remember, but the big hit that I'm talking about. And then, like, I don't want to say that I am a genius. I don't want to say I'm an innovator. I don't want to say that I am a trailblazer even, because I am none of those things. But when I tweeted that Taron Johnson is a linebacker, I saw like 8 other Bills accounts have shows the next day dedicated to that ideology, that he is a linebacker. And
I'm
so
just
I don't
saying,
need
we
to go off on a tangent about it.
I'm just saying, we also, as Trainwreck Sports Maniac, also said Josh Allen is an alien this season, and then conspicuously Tony Romo made a very big point to say Josh Allen was an alien when we had never heard anybody say that before until it came out of the words of our friend Maniac on our commercial there.
Great friend.
And yeah, so I think I think we're onto something here with a little bit. Wouldn't be surprised.
Last note on Taron Johnson, though, because I know we want to get to Matt Milano and that handsome face very soon. You mentioned his missed tackle percentage.
That's a bad hair day, though. It's
a real bad hair day. But Taron Johnson, 90 combined tackles this year. He only missed 3 of them. To put it into perspective.
That's what I'm saying, dude. He's a fucking linebacker. He's a linebacker. He's better.
AJ Epinesa had his 3 missed tackles on 16 combined this year. Spit out that drink. I'd understand.
I want to throw it.
Yeah, also
chuck it, AJ. What are we doing, bro? Anyways, Matt Milano is just look at him.
That's all you gotta say.
I don't know what that means for the Jerry Hughes Award, but just look at him. He should just win
look at him.
just because,
he's got that mean streak.
He is him. Oh yeah,
and also he kind of looks like Joe Cons in that picture, doesn't he?
He does look like Joe Cons.
Yeah.
There's also a wrestler. I want you to look up right now. Look up the wrestler Rick Boogs.
Rick, did you say Boogs?
Boogs, Boogs. He is a 80s. He is an 80s rocker, and he is Joe Cons' doppelganger.
Kinda, yeah. Wow. Holy shit.
Do you see a picture with the mustache?
Yeah,
Yeah. It's pretty bad. It's pretty
Joe
crazy.
Cons looks damn good in that singlet too. I'll tell you that much.
He does. Yeah, Joe Cons is working singlet. That's for sure. But anyways, Rick Boogs, Matt Milano, Joe Cons, same guy, and that's why he should win this award, because if Matt Milano is a professional wrestler, that's all. Jerry Hughes. This award honestly could also be. It could be Bills player that would be the best professional wrestler, because Jerry Hughes would easily be the best Bills professional wrestler of the last 12 years. And I think that Matt Milano would probably have to do that. I think Matt Milano would get there. But Ed, again, if he's riding a horse out to the ring.
Yeah. I would say this is probably, of all the awards we've had so far, I think this is the closest race. I could see any one of these guys winning it, whereas the other 3, I think we can narrow it down to 2 or so.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to the next one here. Another award named after a former player. We're going with the Kyle Williams Award, and this is just simply a fan favorite. We got Damar Hamlin, of course, after this season. He is
minus 10,000 favorite.
Minus 10,000 for this award. He is going to be a fan favorite with this team and in the NFL in general.
Never mind, because something, never mind. But for this team, we won't mention the clone people again. They don't deserve.
They might be fans of the clone though.
They might be fans of the clone. You're right. You're very right. But Damar Hamlin, of course, as if we already didn't know that he was a great person in the community and all the great that he does, both in here and in Pittsburgh. Kyle Williams is known for just being a great community member everywhere he's been. So Damar is an easy nominee for this. Mitch Morse, he also is known for just being this glue culture, always there for everyone in the team kind of guy. Always great with the media, always phenomenal with local kids, with just anytime he's out in the public. Also does a lot for this community. Matt Barkley, I mean, he was a fan favorite when he left, and he was even more beloved when he came back. You don't got to say much more there. And Deion Dawkins, I think he's the guy here that can really give Damar a run for his money. Between the Players Tribune pieces that he's done, the Deion's Dreamers work, just everything. Yep. The Snowman, like, this guy is everything that Buffalo is. I think this is kind of like some of those other awards, a two-headed monster. Damar is probably the heavy favorite, but Deion is a slight underdog to that favorite.
Definitely. Yeah, I think I would say that. Yeah, I think you've got it lined up perfectly. My vote, I think Damar is gonna run away with it, but Deion will definitely be. He'll be right there. He'll be right there with it. But Barkley, loved having him back around. I don't know if he's gonna retire or what he's gonna do. We'll see what happens. And Mitch Morse, I mean, I kind of talked about Mitch Morse earlier. He was the linchpin of the offensive line, but he's clearly a guy that when he came over from Kansas City has just been embraced by the community, embraced the community. I know that him and Josh are very close, which is why you want what you want with your center and quarterback relationship too. So yeah, that's the thing is I think like a guy, Kyle Williams is a guy that all of these guys like. All the love part, like it's been there forever, but at least recently, like that's the person that I think a lot of people in that building right now would point to as a guy that has kind of helped shape exactly what it looks like there. Like I think McDermott would say that. You ask him like the guy that when he first showed up, who was the guy that you would have modeled it after? And I bet the first words out of his mouth would be Kyle Williams. I think everybody would have said that. Bills fans would have said that even before the McDermott years too. And that's why I think that's the kind of guys they're going for. Like all these guys kind of fit that same mold too. So it's kind of great to see that we have like these kind like multiple people to talk about here. And there's more on here that should be talked about too for like the things that they've done. So it's kind of cool.
And last thing on Mitch Morse, I can't believe we both got talking about him in this respect without mentioning throwing him out there after the Damar injury with Dane Jackson, a guy who knew Damar almost his entire life, best friends on the team, went to college together, played in the same secondary there. Yep. And for Mitch Morse, a guy doesn't even play on that side of the football. Forget if he's a defensive lineman. Like you'd think maybe he and Dane have some kind of rapport. Like McDermott just knew Mitch Morse is the guy that I have to put out there with Dane to make him feel comfortable, to make sure that he has someone there who he can lean on and someone who can help him handle, and the media was very respectful in that, but unfortunately you never know which way it's going to go. Sometimes someone might ask a dumb question. Someone might say something to evoke an emotion, not maliciously, but to get a good quote out of it. And McDermott and company knew that Mitch Morse was the right guy to help Dane Jackson through that difficult time. And so now I'm talking myself into this being a much tighter race than we might have seen it before. But one award that could not be more open-ended, will not be a tight race at all. And for anyone that's listening / watching, you are voting on these. You will have the opportunity to vote on who you think wins each award, which makes the next one all the more interesting, Mr. Micah.
Best future Bill. Any which way.
Yeah.
It can be of the draft. The NFL draft coming up soon. Senior Bowl week. Always a fun week.
Great.
NFL free agency.
Draft
maybe less likely. Bills don't have a lot of money, but they could make some money. I do think there are going to be some offensive linemen that they look at in free agency to try to get on a good bargain for a guy that can be productive. Wouldn't be
Is there
surprised
anyone
if they
you have your eye on the offensive line?
haven't looked at names, honestly.
Yeah.
But I'm just looking at. Here's the thing, because here's what's weird. Have you noticed that all these mock drafts have the Bills picking running backs?
Interesting.
And some of these people have some sort of intel into the league, like where teams are looking, mock drafts, and like there's a reason that Mel Kiper is projecting certain people to certain places. He knows that, like, the GM of the Lions told him. I don't know about this, but I'm just like, whatever scenario it is.
He's always very in tune with these things.
And I really think that it's possible that with whatever money the Bills can kind of scrounge up from restructures and whoever they let go, whether it's an Ed Oliver trade, which I do think people have seen that broached. I don't think it's a bad idea, honestly, because I don't think they're going to pay him the money that he could probably get.
Money deserves,
Yeah, and there's just ways that I think that they are going to have some money to do a medium-sized thing. And when you have medium-sized money, you know what a place is really easy to overspend, but not spend a lot of money on and help shore up right away is interior offensive line.
You don't say.
Those guys ain't getting paid a ton of money. And I really wouldn't be surprised if the Bills were like, okay, we need to fix our offensive line, but we need to be efficient in how we use our resources this year, because we have we need a playmaker too, and we can't pay for a playmaker. We don't have that kind of money. So why not just spend on 3 offensive linemen in free agency that are young, decent, and that are going to come in and compete? And then you do pick Bijan Robinson at 27 and just you're off to the races. Yeah. So Bijan Robinson is my best future Bill, because I saw that on the Ringer mock, and I saw them picking who else they have. I've seen Smith and Jigba. I've just seen all these playmakers, and I'm just like, none of these people are thinking offensive line. And then I'm like, or are the Bills just going to use free agency to just try to add all competition everywhere, and it might work? I don't think that's a bad idea.
And that's almost what I would prefer. I mean, I can't remember who tweeted it, and I can't remember the exact numbers, and I'll try to find it for next week's episode when we get more into the offseason part of this all. But there's something to the idea that you should not pick an offensive line in the late/early second round. The hit rate between picks 25 and 35 for offensive linemen are just absolutely abysmal. So if we come out,
you're gonna, especially interior guys,
interior guys,
like you can use a 3rd and 4th round guy, and that guy could start day one.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why if we are going to sign multiple people at any position, I want it to be the offensive line. People are saying, 3 of our 7 or however many picks we have should be offensive linemen at the least. I'm like, this offensive line has to get fixed sooner than later. Do you want to bring in developmental players? Like, you're not getting an all-star offensive lineman in the late first round. You can't have Josh Allen running for his life.
You want to know why people are saying that? It's because of
overcorrection factor.
Who's the dude? Who's the dude that what's the name I'm thinking of on the Chiefs that they just picked?
Creed Humphrey. I can't hear you, buddy. Oh no, I think he's talking about Creed Humphrey. Oh no, what happened?
I'm talking about Creed Humphrey. Don't worry. Am I back?
You're back.
Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay, my thing came unplugged quick. I just had to plug it back in. Yes, Creed Humphrey is what I'm talking about, because that's Bills fans. It's their buzzword. It's like, Creed Humphrey. Look, they do a good thing. And I agree. Yeah. They should have invested more.
It's Rob Ray and pucks to the net. It's the same thing.
Exactly. But it's the 2 words I'm going to use all offseason is really what you have to think about, and what Bean has to think about when you don't have a lot of resources. Asset management. And if the free agency, where is this is like economics, it's supply and demand. Where is the supply where people aren't going to be spending money this offseason? If it's offensive line, then and that's what the Bills need, then that's where they're going to spend all their free agent resources. And if they go and think that they fix the problem by adding a tackle to compete with Brown, a guard to compete, a couple guards to compete with Saffold, and maybe 2 guards to compete at that position, that's my ideal thing. Two interior guy options and a tackle option in free agency. Then you go pick a Bijan Robinson or a Jackson Smith and Jigba, because you've solved your other problem on the offensive line, and then your asset management is you get a potential superstar in the first round, which you're not, and your offensive line is fixed. When you're not going to fix is the offensive line with a first round guard, and then you don't, and there's no other path to get a superstar playmaker again for the next year.
Yeah. For best future Bill, I'm picking an offensive lineman for that I hope we sign in the offseason. Dalton Risner from the Denver Broncos. I think that he can be a little bit of a value. Spotrac currently has his salary around $9.5 million, which for a good, solid, reliable interior offensive lineman, I don't hate that whatsoever.
Not at all.
This is the.
Would you rather pay that or Ed Oliver? Like, I would rather have.
I would rather pay that because I think DaQuan Jones and whoever else we have, DaQuan Jones and Jordan Phillips, I think that can be a decent interior.
And Tim Settle. Don't forget about Tim. I think that Tim Settle. I'll give my dad a lot of this credit because since they signed Tim Settle, he has said he's so young. He is the Ed Oliver replacement because they're just not going to pay him, and they can. Settle's going to be here 3 years cheap.
I like that.
And it makes so much sense. And he's developed. He was awesome this year. I think if he gets a bigger opportunity, he could be a productive starter too.
So I
love that.
Yeah.
I'm going Bijan just for the. I would love Bijan. Bijan. Here's the thing. I don't think Bijan actually makes it to the Bills. They're good. At least if teams are smart, because
if he does,
we're really going to test the limits of running backs because we've gone, you know how I feel about it. We've gone so far that running backs don't matter that it's ridiculous at this point. Bijan Robinson should be a top 3 pick in this draft talent wise. The dude is one of the best running backs in college I've legitimately ever watched. And that's 20 years of watching college football every Saturday, watching Reggie Bush, Adrian Peterson,
happy you brought up Reggie Bush,
Noel Devine, whatever, any running back and I am running I love quarterbacks. Quarterbacks. I kind of you play Madden quarterbacks. What everybody draws to. Running backs are what I've always That's the most fun for me with a running backs going off. Saquon Barkley is my favorite player in the league right now. All these things. Bijan could be better than Saquon Barkley day one. I'm not even joking, and I love Saquon. And I think he's the most talented player. I don't think people understand how good that kid is, and I don't think he's going to make it there. But if it comes to that, and the Bills have signed offensive lineman, and Bijan Robinson is sitting there, he could. You have to. You literally have to.
Absolutely have to. So you have Bijan. I have Dalton Risner. Honorable mention, Jacoby Myers. Final award here. And of course, it's the one that we would save for last. Most valuable player. And I think that, honestly, there is a real debate this year. I'm going to say that.
I know where I'm going.
I think there's a real debate. Josh Allen, Matt Milano, Jordan Poyer, Stefon Diggs, and the way you said with such conviction that you know where you're going makes me think that we're on the same page here.
Oh, where are you going? I'm interested.
I'm going with Jordan Poyer for my most valuable player.
Oh, wow. Nope, not where I'm going, actually.
Really? Okay.
Nope. The guy next to him, Stefon Diggs.
Stefon Diggs? Honestly, this is the year where if the Bills actually gave out this award every year, this is the year where a quarterback might not win it. And it's not to say Josh wouldn't deserve it. It's just those other two players,
what would that receiving core look like without Stefon Diggs this year? That's just what I think about. It would be horrifying.
It's take one player away from this team and what happens? Put in an average replacement level player on this team and what happens? And now, honestly,
you can't argue with Poyer either there too, as we know, you just look at the record and what their defense looked like with him on the field.
They lost one game with him playing this season, and it was the Bengals game in the divisional round of the playoffs. And I don't think that another quarterback could step in and do what Josh Allen does, do 75% of what Josh Allen does, especially with how bad this offensive line was. But, I mean, Jordan Poyer won us more games this year just by being present than Josh Allen did. Does that make sense? Is that a rational take? It feels dirty to say. It feels like someone's going to clip this and then put it on Twitter for us, and then I'm going to get shit on.
Whatever. I think that any of these people you can make a strong case for. I think this is the toughest. I think this is the toughest category because you take one of these pieces away, this team is it's much worse.
It's
Much
a
worse.
lot
And
worse.
Josh, quarterbacks, it's an unfair, scale, whatever. Quarterbacks are the most important position in sports. So sure, you could say every quarterback on every team is the most valuable player every year. And
Always
if you
is.
want-
Always
whatever.
is. There's a reason that Heisman candidates are always quarterbacks.
Here's what I will ask you. If you ask Josh Allen who his most valuable player was this year, who would he say? And I think that it's that guy in that corner.
He would say Stefon Diggs. He would absolutely stay Stefon Diggs.
Yeah. So
and that might be all
that's
we
where
need
I'm
to
at.
ask here. But this is a tough one.
Let's see what the people say, though.
Let's see what the people say. That's the whole idea here. So
who knows?
How this is going to work. We're going to have this up in a survey and a Google form tomorrow. You guys are going to be able to vote on this. You're going to be able to vote for it. And we'll go through all of these just one more time for you. Be able to vote on Rookie of the Year, Kyrie Elam, James Cook, Christian Benford, and Khalil Shakir. Unsung Hero, we have Mitch Morse, Dawson Knox, DaQuan Jones, and Shaq Lawson. Most Improved, Damar Hamlin, Boogie Basham, Reggie Gilliam, Tyler Bass. The Jerry Hughes Award, the guy with that mean streak, the guy that you want on your side in a bar fight. We got Ed Oliver, Taron Johnson, Spencer Brown, Matt Milano. Kyle Williams, just a fan favorite, loved by the community, does great for the community, just a culture guy in the room. We have Damar Hamlin, Mitch Morse, Matt Barkley, Deion Dawkins. The best future Bill. This is where you make the nominees. This is the best part of this. Like, it could be someone that's not even on our radar. I think the winner will have like 3 votes because there's going to be so many different nominees.
You know what's a good one? What if we get like this is where you could get like dark with it. Where we get like who's a head coaching candidate we could do? Eric Bieniemy. Like something like that. Like that's what I want from you people. Like give me some Sean McDermott replacements in here. Give me your spite. Even though I was calling for peace earlier. This is where I need the negativity to come out in you with the best future Bill. Give me like who's the kid? Drake May. Like we're trading Josh Allen. Like just see you, Josh. We're done. Or Diggs. who's a receiver? Get rid of Diggs. See you later, Diggs. Like whoever you need to blame, if you're still going through your grieving process. I'm moved. I'm pretty much done. I was done, but I was honestly done during the second quarter. I was like,
I realized we weren't winning the game before the first half was over, and I was like, I'm okay with this at this point.
It was like the second drive of the game. They were moving down. It was 7-3, and I'm like, they just don't have it. Whatever. Like we're done here.
And then our last award, most valuable player, Joshua Patrick Allen, Matthew, insert middle name Milano, Jordan, same thing Poyer, and Steph Diggs. Great nominees, great awards to give out. The first annual Cappies, the nomination release show, nominee announcement show, whatever the hell we're calling this. It's in the books now. Now you just get our mean mugs up here for the last 30 seconds of here while I shout out our sponsors. Of course, Outlet Liquor, the place to buy a case. Picasso's Pizza, some of the best cup and char pepperoni. Fans of Buffalo, I know that you guys are already trying to think of what you're going to be doing next year. Schedule's not quite out yet, but when it is out and you're starting to plan your road trips for the Bills games, Fans of Buffalo, they got the parties, they got all the information you need for your Bills road trips. That's going to do it here for us. Jake, Micah, phenomenal show. Excited to see how the people vote on these 7 different awards we have.
Definitely.
And if you have ideas for other awards that we could have for next year, definitely let us know. We want to make this grow as the year goes on. But as the night goes on, this is where it ends for us. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. For myself, my good friend Jake Micah, our sponsors, and everyone here at Trainwreck Sports, good night now.